94.9 FM Omwaya, the flow of God's own state. Good evening. My name is Mercy Orji. Now the headlines. President Buhari urges security agencies to clamp down on electoral riggers. Gunmen shoot dead 4 NDLEA officers in Ondo State. INEC clears air on officials allegedly arrested with uncollected PVCs in Abia State. And on the foreign scene, Poland cancels participation in Israel summit. Now the news in details. President Muhammadu Buhari says the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has questions to answer over the postponement of the general elections. The president made this known while reacting to the issue of postponement of elections during the All Progressives Congress APC caucus meeting, noting that INEC had all the resources it needed to carry out its duties.
INEC had all the time and all the resources they had, they wanted. They didn't have to wait for only 6 hours to cast in the votes to tell us that it was impossible. Definitely, the reasons why such incompetence manifests itself has to be explained to the nation. After the election, we have to know exactly what happened.
He urged security agencies to apprehend anyone making efforts to rig the election.
I have briefed the law enforcement agencies and the military. They have identified hotspots, flashpoints. They should be prepared to move, and that anybody who decides to snatch boxes or lead thugs to disturb it, maybe that's the last. I really give the military and the police be ruthless. We are not going to be blamed that we want to rig the election. I want Nigerians to be respected. Let them vote whoever they want across the parties.
Meanwhile, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Adams Oshomole, is accusing the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of colluding with the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and taking the decision to postpone the elections. Speaking at APC caucus meeting held in Abuja today, Oshomole alleged that there was a foul play in postponing the elections, considering how opposition party was commending INEC for the courage to take the decision.
We have now known, I can put my hand on the Holy Quran, that INEC leadership knew that they were going to postpone the election. They shared this information to the People's Democratic Party and advised them not to waste their resources, while pretending to us that they are on top of the situation. As a believer, moments like these can be described as times of temptation. Those who are weak-hearted will give up. But those who are determined will recognize that nothing good that comes easy.
He insisted that his party had no idea about the election shift, saying they got it less than 6 hours into the elections earlier scheduled for Saturday last week. The Directorate, All Progressives Congress APC Election Planning, and is urging Nigerians to convert its disappointment to determination and also to ensure that their previous sacrifices are not wasted. Speaking to newsmen in Abuja, the director of committee, Babatunde Fashola, appealed to the Independent National Electoral Commission to be transparent in their preparations ahead of Saturday's presidential elections.
We, the Directorate of Election Planning and Monitoring and the Directorate for Contact and Mobilization, on behalf of the APC Campaign Council, demand greater openness and transparency in INEC's preparations ahead of the Saturday, 23rd of February 2019 election.
Suspected gunmen have shot dead 4 officers of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in Ondo State. The officers were said to have been conducting a stop and search on some vehicles along Ifo axis of Old Benin Road when the assailants said to have sped towards them in 3 motorbikes and shot them dead at a very close range. The gunmen were also said to have set ablaze the Hilux van belonging to the officers and carted away their rifles and some other belongings while villagers scampered for safety. The People's Democratic Party has suggested that the Independent National Electoral Commission allows either of 2 audit firms, KPMG and PricewaterhouseCoopers, to verify all the sensitive electoral materials that were returned to the
all sensitive electoral materials issued out have been retracted back to. They are now in safe custody of the CBN here in Umuahia. We have not issued any ballot paper to any person. We have not issued result sheets in any way. If anyone is caught with it, it's not part of INEC, and I don't think it will be part of INEC. We are working according to the rule of law.
Like the previous elections, we always
The Commander General of Abia State Vigilante Group, Martin Idikamba, is promising good conduct of his men during the forthcoming elections. Speaking to newsmen in Umuahia, Idika said the group is collaborating with other security agencies to maintain peace and order in the rural areas of the state.
Like the previous elections, we always synergize with other security agencies to make sure there is free and fair election, and there will be no problem. Especially, this time, during this election time, you see some politicians would like to use some of our youths. But what we have been doing, we have been telling them the necessary thing they're supposed to do. We have been educating people, talking to some of the stakeholders, the needs state, because mainly all of us, we are from this state.
So talking about the election now.
Before now, we have taught all the local governments in Abia State. We have taught the whole local government. We have met both the village heads and the Eze and council.
A human rights lawyer, Anthony Abwazuere, is faulting the decision of INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu, who directed parties to suspend campaigns ahead of Saturday's elections, as a national embarrassment. Speaking to Flow FM News, Abwazuere noted that the INEC boss acted in ignorance of the Electoral Act in relation to open campaigns and urged him to reverse himself immediately.
The pronouncement by the INEC chairman can only at best wear the toga of INEC guideline, and being inconsistent and in conflict with Section 99, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act, it becomes null and void, and of course of no effect.
The human rights lawyer said that INEC chairman has shown lack of knowledge of the job after calling off the election 5 hours to voting time on Saturday. News now on Flow 94.9 FM continues shortly with business, foreign and sports news. Stay tuned.
You are listening to News Now.
President of the association, Chinedu Okuronkwo, explained that the decision followed the Saturday's last-minute postponement of presidential and National Assembly elections by Independent National Electoral Commission. He said Matthews Morawiki has cancelled Warsaw's participation in a summit of Central European countries in Jerusalem, calling comments about the actions of Poles during the Holocaust by Israel's foreign minister as racist. Morawiki said that the words of the Israeli foreign minister are racist and unacceptable. The spat started when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said